right. So first off, we got grass adagio. This is it seems to be fairly popular out there right now. This grass kind of falls back and forth in favor. It's been around for a while. It typically blooms a little later for us in the nursery. Naturalized in the landscape, it would be starting to plume by now, but they will plume yet this fall. But they really stay vegetative in the nursery and grow, put a little more growth on before they start. But they will be filled with plumes. You can see there the quality is just excellent. If you want a grass that's going to stay really, really clean for the rest of the year, it rarely gets rust. At least it doesn't get rust where you can really see it. Adagio is your grass. So if you're really concerned with clean foliage all throughout the year, and especially through the fall when most grass start to get rust and start to, the foliage starts looking tired, Adagio won't do that. So that's a real good grass to push this time of year. Next is a new one. We've had it. This will be our second year really in production, but this is Blackhawks. I'm sure you all see it when you drive. If you're driving into the nursery, there's a big clump of it at the main nursery, at the main entrance. We got a big clump of it up here in the landscape as well, up on our entrance up to the greenhouse area. And then this is what the crop looks like out there. It looks great. It can maybe cascade a little bit or maybe bend a little bit. I wouldn't call it a flop, but once it's in a mass, that's not an issue at all. It really has striking contrast to the foliage. Is a very, very tough grass, very adaptable. So that's really good. It can tolerate heavy soils. It can go towards drier environments as well and still do well. So it's a good rounded grass. That's why it was picked to go in our program. We have 1,700 of these. They look great. They got that purplish color in there that you can see they're pluming with that purple color to the plume. So now's a great time to get those out there. So next, we'll go into a couple of different characters. So we talked about this one last week. This one is Cayenne. It's in the worry-free program. It is sterile. You can see there the blooms are starting in there. And then the next one that we didn't talk about, but we're going to talk about today is Hush Puppy. You can go ahead and switch to that one. So you can see here, Hush Puppy is a little bit thinner blade, a little longer plume. It has just light pink hues to it. I wouldn't really call it pink, but it does have a nice hue to it. Very tough grass. And the reason that we have both of these grass is they're both sterile. So that's why they're in the worry-free program. So they're both sterile grass for people who have problems or a concern about invasives. Both of these grass are sterile. So, try to get a few of these out there. Cheryl's just got a few of them on right now. How many is in the crop, Cheryl? 500 of each. And we'll continue to bring this online, as we build momentum with it. But grass Cayenne and grass Hush Puppy. All right, next, hydrangeas. Just wanted to show you where we are in the scheme of things. So we got Little Lime on the left and Limelight on the right. You can see both of these are our crops, correct? Mm-hmm. So we were shipping this week some shipped-in material. We showed you last week. We're getting down to the bottom of those. There's a little bit left, but we're going to switch to these. Right? Yeah, so we're going to be into these next week. You can see we got a lot of new foliage coming on, but we don't have a lot of bud. There will be buds in there. I would expect them to probably put a small amount of flower on this fall, but we're pretty much getting past the big showstopper. Most of them I see in the landscape are starting to go down, but they will form a few buds. You will get a little bit of color here in a couple weeks. The big thing is just the size. It's not floppy. It's full to the bottom of the can, so it's not hollowed out. They're really good plants, excellent value. You know, I think people would be very, very happy when they get them. They just need to realize that we're pretty much past the bloom on both of these. So don't expect a lot of bloom going forward. But where the plants they had or the plants that were being shipped out there were blooming, they're getting pretty tired. And those blooms are starting to deteriorate. The plant starts looking rougher. These plants look a lot fresher. This is really what we want to get out there. Fresh foliage, clean foliage, looking good. So we're back in business. You put 500 of the little limes on and 1,000 lime lights. Just make sure we have the conversation where we are in the status of the bloom. Okay, so Willimer totally changed the game here. This was a Willoway introduction. It is a very unique holly, Manservia type or X-hybrid type. It's very short, low mound, no maintenance holly. You don't have to trim this thing. You really don't have to do much. Very glossy. It looks like it would be sharp on the leaflets, but it's not. It's very soft in its growth. And it always has that nice compact moundy kind of look to it. It's tough. You know, we call it a zone 5. Some people are concerned with hollies as you get further north. You know, that's up to them, but I would stack it up against a prince or princess for hardiness. Definitely hardier than Maid would be, or at least resistance to winter burn. Plus the fact that it stays lower to the ground, it tends to get less wind burn on it, especially in areas where it can get some snow cover. So we got 2,000 of these. We can row run them. They look great. Really nice crop. Juniper gray owl. You know, this continues to be pretty popular, like we talked about. You know, you got your greens out there, your Mr. Bowling Balls, you got your Fire Chief, gets you your yellows, oranges, your blues, you're going to go towards junipers. So Juniper gray owl is by far my pick, besides Blue Star. Gray owl is very resistant to disease. It's very tolerant. It can handle a wide variety of soils and do very, very well. You can see here that we're really pushing out the spec on these. They're just full and nice. We're done trimming for the year. We don't trim them anymore. So they're going to get that nice feather on that and just that fantastic color. You can't beat that color with that powder blue color. So. And we got a lot of them available. We pushed really hard to make sure we got a good selection. So 1,700 of them. Magnolia, Virginiana glauca. We are starting to get back into Jim Wilson. Jim Wilson is a selection out of Virginiana glauca. We're a couple years out, so we're going through Virginiana glauca right now. We had some hiccups with our tissue culture producer. But we got that resolved. So in a couple years, we'll start to see the Jim Wilsons come back. Virginiana glauca, the difference between that and Jim Wilson's a little more selective. We get less scrap issues with it, for lack of a better term, because of it getting crooked or anything like that. So Virginiana glauca is a seedling, so it can get a wide variation of shapes in it. But the ones we're selecting for you are very nice. You can see there, 25 gallon. They're right at the 7 foot, almost the 7 foot mark with the very, very tips. But, you know, we offer this as a 60-inch. So you're getting a very nice, big, full plant in a 25 gallon. You know, it blooms, you know, Virginiana types, they pretty much all bloom in the summer, so they're more of a summer blooming lilac. The flowers aren't particularly noticeable. I mean, you will see them. It's really probably more used for the shape and the bark and the texture of the bark. But it does get a nice flower on it. It has really good fragrance, but we're pretty much past that right now. You can every once in a while catch a flower on them right now, but they're pretty much a early to midsummer bloomer. A little different animal is Magnolia Ann. So you can see here, this is our 3-gallon. We wanted to show you how nice of a crop of threes that we got. Is Ann, do we have Jane's also? So Ann is going to be our primary this year. It kind of goes back and forth what I'm able to get for liners. We really want to grow Ann and Jane, but we sometimes wind up with the full number out of one or the other. It depends on the plant propagator what happens. The main difference between Ann and Jane is Ann's a little more compact. It's always been my choice. I really like it because it stays more compact. It won't get too big in certain areas, and especially where you have limited room. Jane can get a little bigger, but they're still both very similar in size, a little different. Also, Ann has a lot more curl or wave in the leaf, which is really cool. I really like that. You do get sporadic blooming this time of year. That's pretty much done with. That's just a natural thing for that plant. For both Ann and Jane, you will see that a little bit of, I guess you could call it a repeat bloom, but its main bloom time is in the spring in general. And we have really good numbers finally on our magnolias, for especially the 3s and the 7s. We're a little limited still on the 15s and pretty much out of business on the 25s on the Anns and Janes. But we've got some great 3s. This is great for to start thinking about if people want to get them in the fall for retail type sales or for spring, start thinking about that as well. Miraca pennsylvanica, that's next. These things have continued to look great. Probably most people know what Miraca is, or bayberry. It's very, very tough, very adaptable. Its native range is kind of growing on beach heads. They have a high tolerance to salt, which is great for parking lot edges. So it's highly adaptable for that. I would say that's really its number one use is for like a lot of people make a nice little formal hedge out of it, a low hedge along a parking lot or a driveway or something like that just gets a ton of salt spray, and it can handle it without a problem. It does tend to like dry soils. It doesn't like to be in wet feet. So that's probably its only Achilles heel. You can imagine it's growing kind of up on the dunes off the shore. And that's fairly dry area. The plant itself really adapted, so it pulls moisture in from the leaves as well as the roots. So that'd be the only thing you need to watch for with planting. But we got 170 of those of that size. They look great. We'd like to move them before fall. Magnolia Royal Star. This is a pure white. It's one of the first ones to bloom. So in the spring, this will, you have marrows and messels. It'll probably pop right at the same time. Then Royal Star comes in full. Then Ange and Janes are next. They're not very far apart from each other. We're only talking like 5 to 7 days apart. But this would be the first one, pure white. You don't see as much repeat blooming on Royal Stars as you do the Anns and Janes. But we just wanted to show you how great the quality and size is on these plants. You can see there we're pushing 3 foot. Our spec is 24 to 30. So it's just an excellent value. We got multiple breaks on it. They're nice and full. As these defoliate through the fall, you're going to have really nice structure. It's not going to defoliate down to one or two branches. There's a lot of branching in there. We made sure we did the trimming to make sure we get a nice full plant, so it's going to look good dormant as well as when it's breaking out in the spring. All right, mountain fire. We were able, I brought a few mountain fire in, so I wanted to show you that. We pretty much stripped through all of our mountain fire this spring and summer. It was incredible how many of the purists we shipped out, so that thing turned back on. So I've been trying to supplement our inventory a little bit. We actually sold our 21 crop. So we're looking at grading a few out of the 22, and then I'm also looking to bring in supplemental inventory. So this is just a new one that landed. We wanted to make sure we show you. We can ship 240 of these today, looking like that. So we just wanted to get that photo out there. Yugo pine. So this is definitely a landscape staple out there. Been around for a long time. So, we grow NC. NC is just a little more compact. It doesn't get as rangy. Straight Mugoso, it can get kind of sticky. It gets a lot of branching that sticks up, but NC stays a lot more compact. We also do a real light trim on the soft growth on it, which that time has passed a long time ago. If you ever want to trim your Mugo pines to make them look better, that time is usually in June when they're candling out real hard. That's the time when you trim them. But we got 250 of them. There's more rolling behind them. Just a real nice crop. We just wanted to show you. Fuji Fire Chief. So what we wanted to show you is the 2 and the 3. And if you look, there isn't a whole lot of difference. So the 2 is on the left and the 3 is on the right. We really wanted to push that difference. I would like to move as many of these 2s as we can this fall. The 3 will store so much better for us than the 2. It's not that I can't store it. It's just less maintenance, less water for the winter on the 3 than the 2. But it's the best value out there. If you want to help your customers out, you want to help them save a few dollars, they're going to get virtually the same size head and top. It's a big 2. It's not a little tiny cheater 2. So it's a decent size pot, and there's almost 1,900 of them, and they all look like that. The entire crop looks like that. So if we can put some focus and effort towards that 2, that would really help the growers out, and we can pass on the savings to the customer. And last but not least is Viburnum. Spice Girl. We continue to like this one. It's in the prune winter program. It took very minimal pruning to achieve that shape. If that was a straight Carlisi, it would be really, really sticky, even with the amount of trimming I do. Kind of a more open pattern. That's what most of the fragrance do. What's really nice about Spice Girl is that it has multiple branching at the base. We also are bringing online Fit to be Tied. We'll have some of those. That is the same thing. It gets multiple branching from the base. It's a much fuller, nicer shrub. More branching gets you more flowering when they're younger, so you can have more flowerlets next year. And this thing in the spring really showed off. It was the best. You don't get dieback in the branching like sometimes the straight Carlisi or Carcophyllum or Jedi will do. So it's a really good selection. And then also think about Fit to be Tied. And then we also have the dwarf, much more compact dwarf one, which is Spice Island. That's in the PTW program. We've talked about that before, but that's a lot more compact grower. So that's a photo of today. That's what they look like today. I think, you really want to impress your wholesalers out there, ship them some of these, and, you know, I don't, you can't go wrong with that. So, all right. I think that's it.